is going on, THL? How is everybody doing out there in THL land? Let me get my phone and see if I can try and pull up. So see if I can see chat, but we're never sure if anything's going to work over here. I'm here with Ross. Ross, how are you making out tonight?
Fantastic. I'm not on the ship, so it's a good day.
You're not on the ship, so it's a good day. So you are active in the
Navy.
Navy. How often are you
Mhm.
at sea?
Uh, it depends really on which command I guess people are with. For me personally, we go out pretty regularly. I'm on a littoral combat ship, if you were to Google them. So a lot of anti-drug operations out of South America.
Very interesting. So, does it offer you a lot of time to smoke? I don't imagine there's spots on the ship to smoke.
Well, believe it or not, there actually is. There's a smoke deck, and as long as you don't have glass and stuff like that, it's okay.
That's pretty interesting. So, do you smoke hookah on your ship ever?
I have a small little plastic one that I do smoke. Yes, like
Okay.
a food grade silicon almost, the small little ones. I don't know if you've seen them. They're horrible to smoke out of, but it's better than none.
Now, what kind of looks do you get from your superiors when you do that? I don't imagine anyone else has done this. You have to be one of
Well,
the first people in the. Are there other guys out there smoking hookah?
at the beginning there wasn't. Probably I'd say 8 years ago when I joined, not really, but I was one of the first to sort of start it, I guess. And now I have two other guys that do it with me.
Gotcha. So, when did you first get into hookah? What got you into smoking hookah?
Ooh, I was we'll say for legal reasons 18, and I had a friend from India who was pretty big on it. So I used to go to his place and smoke it. Um, and that's what I did socially. I just went with my friends to smoke socially. Then when I joined the Navy, my first command did a lot of Middle Eastern deployments. So I picked up a couple of Babylons and some pipes from Egypt that I have on my wall, sort of behind me, if you can see them. And then when I got more into hookah smoking, I got some nicer pipes. Right now I'm smoking out of the F-22 with one of the boho bases and a stone bowl from Brandon and a provost on top for my heat management.
Now, how are you liking the F-22? I have one also. You have the that splatter colorway, right?
I do, yes. I wanted something to match the snake hose. Yeah.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Now, how do you like it? How do you like it as far as performance wise?
I absolutely love it. I honestly haven't had a pipe this nice before. Before this one, the nicest ones I probably had were my Babylonians, which I really love the industrial purge valve they have at the very top of them. But I mean, the problem is they do have the buildup, and every time you rinse them, you do get the green out of the stems. I know people say it's not bad for you, but I still feel bad smoking out of them so much
Right.
because there's so much cleaning involved,
Right.
and the
Yeah. There's a lot of
F-22 is
upkeep.
so much easier to clean.
That's for sure. Yeah, I really like it. How do you like the purge? Because it has an interesting purge. It has like that internal purge with just the it's a different look,
It
especially
is.
for an American hookah.
I actually really enjoy it because the problem I've had with the other hookahs is uh, I do tend to talk a lot. So if I don't purge for a while, it starts building up the stale smoke. So I like the fact that I can purge it so well and so quickly. It almost is like it builds up almost a weird pressure in the void area of your base, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it almost like shoots the smoke up and down as it purges.
Right. So this it sounds like this is kind of your first more modern styled hookah that you've purchased.
Well, I purchased two more modern ones in the past, but I was let down by them. But I didn't really know a lot of research behind them. I have a Starbuzz carbine that I spent, way too much on for what it's worth. Um, it's great for camping. That's about it.
Yeah, that's understandable. So
Yep.
okay,
And
okay.
oh,
So this
continue.
is this is definitely your favorite of the modern pipes compared to your. Now, how often are you gonna? You think you're gonna go back to smoking the pipes you were smoking before? Or is like F-22 gonna be it from moving forward?
I think it'll be it moving forward until I get to the show here in Vegas because I hear there might be some good deals in Vegas here in August on some pipes.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to HCW. Have you bought your tickets yet?
Yes, right when they went on sale, I got one of the VIP ones. I hear you get extra time in the show if you have them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what do you mostly smoke?
I have a sweet tooth, so it really just depends on how I'm feeling. But brand wise, a lot of the trifectas. I have two hazes right now, a bunch of Tangiers, and two by Social Smoke. They're uh, the Voltage by Social Smoke, the Pistachio Breeze by Social Smoke. Then trifectas, my favorites are going to be. I really like the Bohemian. I like their Melon Medley. Their peppermint shake I like if I mix it with vanilla, which that's what I have right now. I have half vanilla, half peppermint shake. And then on the haze area, I like their Chata that just came out. I actually like a lot. Um, and then their minty mint one. I was sure it's called What a Mint. Their mint cream one I like.
I haven't
But it
smoked
really
haze
just
in a while.
depends on how I'm feeling. Because I said I have a sweet tooth. I don't really like the more aggressive, bolder flavors. That makes sense.
Hmm.
I really like the sweet stuff.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, do you do any other type of any other kind of tobacco? Like, do you do also smoke cigarettes? Do you smoke cigars? Anything else?
I am a pretty heavy cigar smoker too.
Are you?
When I don't have the time to do shisha on the ship, I usually do cigars. My personal favorites, a lot of the Drew Estate line, his Javas, the Maduro, stuff like that. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not really into the earthy type cigars either. Really, it's more the sweeter coffee flavor cigars. I've never done cigarettes in my life. In the Navy, in all branches, they do a lot of physical testing. And I have noticed that a lot of my coworkers that do smoke cigarettes do have a noticeable decrease in lung capacity and their physical performance. But I've never had an issue with hookah. No matter how much hookah I've smoked, it's never affected my cardio or my run times. So I don't know if it's just less damaging to the lungs or what it is, but
That's interesting. Every time, anytime this stuff gets talked about, I always like to mention, it is definitely not good for you, like for sure. And
oh
so,
yeah,
so it's a hard thing to try to discuss because you don't ever like I don't ever want to try to seem like in front of people that I'm saying that hookah is safe, but it definitely seems like you don't have as many issues. Like I smoke constantly, and if I smoked cigarettes like the way that I smoke hookah, I know I would have a cough all of the time, like people do. And I don't. I know I'm damaging my lungs. It'd be safer not to smoke, but it does seem that way, doesn't it?
it does that. And we have. I'm pretty lucky. We have in the military you have nutritionists and stuff, and a lot of access to uh, those type of medical facilities. And it seems like I said, like when you actually do like a isocyanates physical where you have to blow out candles and do lung capacity, it really seems like hookah doesn't affect lung capacity. If anything, it maybe makes your throat a little bit tougher, so it might increase your snoring at night. Uh, but other than that, I mean, it doesn't seem to have. I mean, yeah, maybe your higher chance of throat cancer and stuff like that, but it seems like the lungs overall don't have nearly the amount of tar and other additives that you get from cigarettes.
Yeah, I would have to agree. But again, I mean, this is bro science. We're basing this off of just Ross's findings.
Well, some of the science behind it that we've looked into, at least from the scientific point of view, is I do know from how we create water on board ships that the tobacco and cigarettes and the chemicals added are more acidic, so it gets absorbed through your lungs better. When cigar tobacco and the tobacco used in shishas is more base, which is designed to be absorbed through the membranes of your mouth and throat, just like a cigar would be. Like if you have a really nice cigar, you'll still get slight buzz off it, even though you're not inhaling. Same thing with dip. I don't dip either, but my friends that dip is the same type of material. The dip they use in tobacco, or the tobacco and dip, I should say, is the same type of processing facilities and the same farmers that sell the shisha manufacturers. So I really think even if you weren't to inhale the shisha, you're just to do like a reverse, in your mouth, out your nose, like a half inhale, I think you would still get the slight buzz you get from shisha because I think it's just a more, I do like the chemical tests. All the shisha seem to be a much more base when you test them than you would a cigarette. Because cigarettes have a pH of 3 or 4, when hookah tobacco and cigars have an 8, 9, 10. So I think there is some science in there with, why dip is absorbed through your mouth and cigars are absorbed through your mouth and shisha has a lot of absorption through your mouth and throat, but not so much in the lungs. And maybe that's why the lungs aren't damaged as much.
Gotcha. So you have actually done some research on this that I wasn't even aware of before we started our conversation. But you've looked into this stuff.
But yes, I can't get into crazy detail, but part of my job is, I don't want to say to be the nerd of the group, but I'm with a group of people, and we do drug interdiction, so we intercept drug boats and stuff like that. And part of my job is to figure out what the drugs are, what's in them, where they came from, follow the trail back, as it were. And so, a lot of the testing techniques that I've been taught and I've learned that you use on the, actual drugs, you can just use on shisha, and you get a lot of information from that. You get where it came from, what farm sold to who. I mean, it seems to me like a lot of the European shishas that you get that are being grown right now in Germany, for example, right? It seems they're being done with aquaponics. When you do the testing, you see higher nitrate levels, higher ammonia levels, which come from the aquaponics and hydroponics of the creating. For those who don't know what you're watching, that's where you plant plants in water and you have fish that actually are in the water too, and the plants grow off the fish waste. So you don't need soil. The problem is tobacco as a whole as a crop destroys the soil. That's why every 7 years or so you have to put your tobacco crop in a new location to grow new tobacco. So the advantage and disadvantage is that when you use aquaponics or hydroponics, you usually figure out real fast, hey, this wasn't grown in the ground like other tobacco plants. And Tangiers, for example, seems to only get their shisha, a lot of testing with their stuff, because I love Tangiers cane mint, and I love their burley line. But burley tobacco plants are really only grown in like Tennessee, Kentucky, the Carolinas. So I don't want to say it's like plutonium, but every reactor in the world, you can test the plutonium or uranium in it and go, hey, it came from this exact mining site, this exact place on Earth. Tobacco is almost a lot the same way. You can figure out, hey, it came from this exact farm, this exact place. And some of the brands of shisha I don't like, when I trace them back, say, hey, why am I getting a headache? Why isn't the quality very good? I usually can trace it back to it came from a bad source. At the end of the day, it was the shisha company spent the money to buy a cheaper grade shisha or cheaper grade tobacco to make their shisha. They didn't wash it as well as they should have. And it just leads to people getting headaches, to not having the flavor.
This is like a really, really interesting conversation that I was not at all prepared for us to have, Ross. I had no idea that you had all this information. How long have you been in the hookah community? Like the online hookah community?
That's literally been the last, I would say, I think November I joined THL, so I would say not very long.
Ross, we need to have many, many more conversations. Have you compiled information? Like, do you have?
I do have a small book that I have been compiling in. My plan was to eventually present it to Frank here, probably a New York gala, of like what bowls to what coals to what shisha and what design types, because I think a lot of people bash, the bowl, and at the end of the day, the bowl really is the engine of the car. You can have the world's best pipe, but if the engine is horrible, it won't matter. And your coals are your fuel, and your shisha is, the energy source you're burning. That's why your low, medium, high heat coals, how they were processed, coconut versus, different other types of coals, really can make a difference, just like the petrol you put in a vehicle. So I am trying to make an Excel sheet to present to you and Frank, like I said, at the gala, that will hopefully have my compiled information on it.
I'm really, really excited for this, like genuinely, and this is really funny. Tonight I was bored, and Ross was talking about going live, just to go live, and I was like, you know what? Let's do a little show. We'll have the Barstool Meetings. It'll be something we'll do. We'll highlight members. We'll talk. This is an incredibly interesting conversation. So we are definitely gonna have to have another segment that is not this, about this topic, and talk to you some more. I'm very, very excited. So you're coming to the gala. How excited are you for the gala?
Super excited. You have no idea. Like as soon as I got tickets to it, I got my tickets. Luckily for me, I have an American Express through Delta that I got a long time ago for all my travel. So I have a ridiculous amount of points. So I said, screw it. I got myself first class tickets there and back. A nice hotel that's like 2 blocks from the gala. So I think my plan beforehand, I get in at like 2 p.m. on Saturday. I think I'm going to go to the cigar lounge. It's like a block from my hotel, hang out there for an hour or two, then walk over to the gala.
Absolutely, dude. When you get in, shoot me or Frank a message, because we're going to be around, and I'm sure that we're going to be doing stuff right up until the gala. There'll be people hanging out.
Absolutely.
That's really cool. So it's really interesting to me that you've been, really at the enthusiast level of a hookah smoker for a long time without having been part of the online community. Like I became
Well,
part of the online community in like 2009, and that's the reason that I knew about good shisha, different bowls, different stuff, and like you have all this knowledge and information that you've just been keeping to yourself, man.
well, that's why I'm not very good with certain technology like this. So that's why I said, you know what, let me find a group on Facebook and let me join them and see if I can't add to it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I could talk about hours about a lot of the science I've tried to do behind it, and a lot of it I hear people debating about stuff online, and I don't know how much actual scientific data they have behind theirs. But I mean, it's I've been in situations where I don't know if you know this, but in the Middle East, for example, right, when you're with certain elders, if you point your hose at them, that's like considered a massive insult. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
there's literally been almost life or death type situations to where like if you don't know your stuff, it's not going to end well.
That's that's also really interesting. Yeah, we definitely, like I said, we I am not prepared to have a long talk about the stuff that you can have long talks about, but we need to have a chat, you and I, in private for a long time, so I can not look like an idiot when we have these conversations. But you have a lot of really interesting information.
Well, I think the key to it as well is um, just experimenting. I mean, if you take, I, I'm pretty lucky because I can get, being uh, smoking so much shisha and I order a lot. That's where all my expendable, disposable income goes really to hookah and shisha. So I actually have like set up 4 or 5 bowls, put coals on them, and literally just study them and take temperature readings. Not even smoke them, just to see what bowls work for what. Because even though I love the stone bowls, at the end of the day, a stone bowl bakes the shisha entirely. And some shishas, for example, a lot of the haze line are super high heat shishas. That even if you bake them in a stone bowl, you just won't get the flavor output that you might from like putting them in a actual apple on top. Some type of aluminum bowl that can transfer the heat
Right.
quickly with high heat. And I mean, that's why it just depends. I mean, it's I'm trying to compile the knowledge. I'm not the best at Excel, but I'm working on it. I mean, it's even like I said, I don't want to get in a long conversation here, but literally every part of the hookah I think plays a massive role. One thing I didn't like about the carbine was I had to take a tap and die set and mill out the purge area, put a new purge on,
Hmm.
because that was the weakest point, right? When you take measurements, you take readings, the place the airflow was being lost was the purge area. Um, so that's really what it comes down to. I've always been a scientific type person. Uh, I've never done anything other than shisha. Like I said, I've never dipped. I've never even tried a cigarette. I've done cigars because I like the flavor of them and the coffee flavors. But I've always wondered the science behind it. Why is it that I can still run a mile and a half in 12 minutes when the guy who smokes, a couple cigarettes a day, he still can, but with a lot more training. He's out there running all the time, and I only run every so often.
That's
Um,
it's it's this is really funny to me because it's the way that you feel about it is the same way that I feel about it as far as like the science that goes into stuff and the different like certain bowls for certain types of tobaccos. I always refer to that for myself as bro science because I don't actually do any testing and compile any data. I think this stuff. You actually have done work and can tell us things about tobaccos that I might think. This is a really interesting. You can have really interesting conversations, Ross. This is really fun.
well, the
This
two
is
big
really fun.
yeah, the two big misconceptions I think I get the most that I read about. I don't really comment on them too much because it's hard to have a conversation with someone over text messaging and messenger and stuff. Without really
Before you keep talking,
okay.
I want to be careful. I don't want to mention any brands or anything right now.
That's okay. I won't. I won't. I
Okay,
won't.
okay.
But I will say there are, for example, people will say, "Hey, there's a lot of stems in this," and that can be a bad thing. But at the same time, certain brands, the way they wash their tobacco, the stems will actually carry more flavor with them. So sometimes you want some stems in there. Sometimes you might want to. Like for me, the bean choppers that use it like a little bean processor for your coffee beans.
Hmm.
I use one of those for shisha sometimes. If it's really thick and stemmy, I'll sometimes put it in a little bean grinder to grind it up to make it more of even a paste sometimes, and it'll smoke a whole lot better. Um, so it just depends on, the shisha. Uh, I'm a big fan of some of the science too is let's say you have very, sweaty hands, you have very oily skin. Maybe you have a Greek ancestry like I have, or you're more oily person. Believe it or not, there's some shishas that if you handle too much with your bare hands, you actually get oils in there that'll change its heating point. Right now, I'll have all this in the Excel sheet, but right now the basic heating temperature, if I put all the medians together, is right around 532 Fahrenheit. That's really right where the glycerin or whatever the additive is that starts producing the smoke that you want. But then certain shishas are below that by 200, some are above by 100. It depends really on what your temperature is. And yeah, like I said, the stem content, where the leaves are from, how much liquid. So trying to get all that in a Excel sheet for you guys, you can say, hey, I have blank brand. That means I probably should chop it up better. Or I have this brand, and even though it's contrary to popular belief, I might want to get a little bit of the juice out first before I put it in blank bowl because it'll drip into the actual base.
Yeah, this is really really cool stuff. So if definitely make your Excel spreadsheet. So you've been doing all this stuff just out of your own curiosity.
Yeah, for probably about a decade now.
Like this is what you'd be doing even if you didn't find the groups. Like that's the part of this that's mind blowing to me, and so so cool. Like it isn't like you're doing this because like, oh, I want to do this so that I can get in the groups. Like this is what you're doing. This is really cool.
Well, yeah, like I said, I mean, it's part of my job. Like I said, is hey, where did this blank drug come from? So yeah, I said with the classes I've taken through the military and through my own studying at universities and online courses, you learn the microbiology and microchemistry and molecular chemistry and all their stuff that goes along with, like I said, plants. And I was in Japan for 4 years where shisha tobacco is illegal, or at least the nicotine type, and they smoke a lot of the herbs, everything from the mint leaves to chrysanthemum, if I'm saying that right. What else? It's basically anything you find in herbal teas is what they'll mix in with theirs. And there's a lot of properties to that. It's mints, for example, real mints like with Tangiers. I don't know what the name. Sorry, real mint like certain brands actually has been proven to be an accelerant to clear out your lungs, for example. Right? I mean, if you say, hey, I have a cold, I'm gonna take some blank medicine that's an accelerant to decongest your lungs. There's actually certain shishas out there that actually can do it better because it has the natural oils that'll do that naturally. Also, just to let you know, you say bro science, but the scientific term for that is tribal knowledge. That's what we called it.
I love that, and I'm using that for the rest of my life.
That's okay. This is incredible. That's what in science we call tribal knowledge. It's been passed on from one person to the other in the tribe. And they realize, hey, this is bad, don't do it, because the elders have said so and the tribe says so.
It's amazing because a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, and as far as mentioning brands, I just mean negatively. We can talk about things that are good, that's fine. But as far as mentioning brands like Tangiers, it's one of those things that I feel like I'm the only person who still says, don't touch your tobacco because it's going to change the way it smokes. Because Tangiers uses oils, and then you just said that, and it's a thing that I almost have even stopped saying because no one really cares, and I don't have any scientific reason to say that, but I remember learning that back in 2009 with like the really hardcore guys that were in the forums, like that logged into the computer every day to only talk to each other in text, like you know what I mean.
So, the craziest way I know of to do shisha right now that even I still can't do, even after all my years of smoking, is there's quite a few places over in Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran where they take little metal foil, they take the foil, right, and they bottle it up into balls, or they even take like ball bearings, and they put those in the shisha and then put the coals on top of that. There's no like foil over top, there's no HMD, it's just little metal pellets in the shisha, almost like BBs, and then they put the coals on that, so it's so much direct heat. I was like, how is this not destroying the shisha? But how they were refining it, how they were processing it, lets it work. Higher molasses content, more honey perhaps. I think glycerins and fructose corn syrup and stuff like that is much more modern. Obviously, tobacco is a new world crop, so really, 300 years ago it didn't exist in the shisha realm. The Middle Eastern cultures were doing a lot of other plants other than the tobacco leaf itself. But if you look at the science behind Native American tribes, the Cherokee First Nation out of Canada, they did a lot of stuff with tobacco, and you really have to look at what did they use. And the First Nation did a lot of stuff with honey. The Cherokees here in Florida did a lot of stuff with orange blossom honey because it has that, like I said, it's not as acidic as other honeys would be. So they realized on their own without science, hey, blank honey works better than this other honey to mix in with tobacco when we dry it out in the sun. Um, so it's really stuff like that. I've always found it very interesting of, okay, us as humans are addicted to this, whatever it is, alcohol, tobacco, you name it. I mean, everything from sex to, we're addicted to things. And why is that? What drives a human being to first say, hey, let me mix some honey, basically let me mix some bee vomit is a technical term, bee vomit with these random plants that I found and see what happens. Right? To me, it's like circumcision. Who thought of themselves, hey, let's snip the end off here and see what happens, right? It's like, where did this come from?
I have thought that so many times. Like, how many things got smoked before people realized like the best things to smoke are tobacco and weed. Like, this is what we should just only smoke now.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, so much shit had to have been rolled up. Like, let's see what this does anything to us.
Well, on that note, actually, once again, I can't get into detail. Being active military, like I said, full disclaimer, I've never done anything other than tobacco. But I have noticed with testing that a lot of the best marijuana plants that have the most THC and the most CBD oil in them, like the ones that are best for you all around, seem to be through aquaponics, being that you have carp or tilapia or some fish in a large fish tank circulating your water through a vertical system to feed the marijuana plants. You get a lot better harvest. You can control the lighting better. There's the day light cycles you can control better in an interior environment. You can make a much better crop doing that. So that's one of the situations where aquaponics and hydroponics work fantastic for the marijuana plant and salvia plants in general, which is, Salvia divinorum is the thing that was illegal. It was legal until I think 2007 or 8, and then a bunch of states banned it.
That stuff was the devil. I tried it while it was legal, and it's not. It shouldn't be.
Well, the point I make is a lot of plants take heavily from how you raise them, and I think tobacco is one of those crops where you can do it in aquaponics and hydroponics, but it's just, I think the Native Americans had it right. You have to do certain things. Some of the stuff I've studied in some of the history books says before they would plant their tobacco crop, they would take a trout out of the stream and they would bury it with the plant or one of the seeds, because all the basically the fish breaking down is fertilizer from the tobacco plant, and you don't destroy the land as fast. But you still have to have those heavy metals. You still have to have, the earth. I think that's where, not to get philosophical here, but I feel like the planet does it better in that regard. I think science only take us so far. I think the earth is a little bit better at making the tobacco plant, when I think science can make a better marijuana plant, if that makes sense. Just because one is so much more technical.
That's actually, it's funny. That's like a really kind of almost beautiful thought. I really like that. I want to ask you, would you have time to do things like this more? Would you be able to do this again?
Absolutely. So
okay. So I want to end this conversation and end the stream, so that we can actually plan and promote this stuff, because these are really, really interesting conversations, and we did this as a fun, quick little thing. So I think that we should sign off. This was Barstool Meetings. This is something we're going to do every once in a while. We're going to have a different member on. We're going to hang out. We're going to have a couple drinks. We're going to have some laughs. Whoever has to follow Ross is in trouble, because this was an incredible segment that we did not promote. And we need to make sure that we have more people watch it next time that you and I talk on air.
Well, if anyone wants to message me, they're welcome to. Like I said, the video thing I can do. I mean, as long as you give me enough headway, I can tell you when I'm available. Usually it's 2 or 3 nights a week is when I'm off, and I can schedule something. I am East Coast time, so not too terribly late, but I can definitely make it happen. So yeah, I mean, as long as I have enough warning, and like I said, as long as I know what days.
Absolutely, yeah. We will have a conversation as soon as we end the stream. Me and you are going to keep talking tonight for sure. Don't worry about that. I'm just going to end the live. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope that more people who weren't able to tune in live end up watching this because this was a really fun and interesting conversation, and there will be more to come with Ross.